This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
A federal judge wants answers over the weekend deportation flights that he had ordered to turn around. I'm Rich Johnson.
Dozens of tornadoes touched down across the Midwest into the Deep South.
It started raining in my bed.
I'm Julie Walker.
Ceasefire over between Israel and Hamas after the terror group refused all hostage offers. We'll have details.
President Trump will speak with Russia's Vladimir Putin amid efforts to end Moscow's war in Ukraine. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a winning day yesterday, even with less than stellar retail sales numbers for last month. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
The White House responding to the suggestion that the Statue of Liberty should be returned to France. I'm Clayton Neville.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Justice Department lawyers have until noon Eastern Time today to explain to a federal judge why planes filled with Venezuelan gang members flew to El Salvador despite the judge's order to have the flights returned to America. Details from Correspondent Rich Johnson.
Federal Judge James Boasberg told government attorneys Monday that his Saturday order to turn around 2 planes filled with deportees was a very clear order, which he says the White House ignored. Justice Department lawyers argued that Boasberg's verbal order was not enforceable. And on the broader issue of shipping out alleged gang members, Border Czar Tom Homan said, in effect, we don't care what the judge says.
And we're going to make this country safe again. I'm proud to be a part of this administration. We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
Homan's comments, courtesy of Fox News, came as Boasberg imposed a 2-week pause on deportation flights, set today's deadline, and promised a ruling after a Friday hearing. All this as White House advisors like Stephen Miller characterized those who were on the flights to a prison in El Salvador under a 1-year, $6 million contract.
They are actually foreign terrorists and alien enemies of the United States.
The Saturday flights happened after President Trump invoked for just the 4th time in U.S. history the Alien Enemies Act. That's something that Texas Democratic Congressman Julian Castro says is wrong.
It absolutely would be an abuse of power for him to use the Alien Enemies Act.
Passed in 1798, the Alien Enemies Act gave the president more power to detain non-citizens during times of war. James Madison was the first to use it against British nationals during the War of 1812. Woodrow Wilson used it against nationals of Germany and its allies during World War I. And most famously, Franklin Roosevelt used it to detain and expel citizens of Japan, Germany, and Italy after the U.S. entered World War II. Roosevelt extrapolated his powers under the act to inter Japanese Americans for the duration of that war.
And we consider that a stain on the history of this nation, and that's where Donald Trump is taking us again.
Congressman Castro's comments courtesy of MSNBC. Meanwhile, protesters took to the streets in several American cities as demonstrators objected to the deportations, ICE raids, and what they say is the government targeting immigrant communities and violating people's civil rights. I'm Rich Johnson.
Extreme weather, including dust storms and wildfires, along with tornadoes that move through more than a dozen states, have claimed the lives of at least 42 people, and more severe weather is expected before the end of the week. Correspondent Julie Walker reports on some of the hardest-hit areas of the nation.
The deputy and EMS hiked in. Other crews started. It had completely demolished the home and made it into rubble.
It's very heartbreaking. I mean, I've got people dead everywhere, people injured, a lot of people without houses. So, I mean, I'm a paramedic, I'm a firefighter, I'm a coroner, and it's hitting me on all sides.
The National Weather Service says it's investigating just how many tornadoes blew through the Midwest and South, killing more than 36 and destroying hundreds of homes and businesses. Meteorologist Mark Chenard.
Preliminarily, it looks like on Friday, like 46 and then 41 on Saturday.
Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves declaring a state of emergency.
The National Weather Service is looking at preliminary data and we could have as many as 12 tornadoes that came through our state.
Even more tornadoes and heavy winds in other states. In Georgia, Latricia Carter says she and her neighbors were hit hard.
When that storm tore through, it was pretty loud. And of course, when I heard the hit, it started raining in my bed. So I was like, oh my God. And so my daughter, she ran in and she pulled my bed to the middle of the floor. But as far as the downlines in front of our house, that's probably about as most as we had to deal with.
Missouri had the highest death toll from the tornadoes, while heavy winds fanned deadly wildfires in Oklahoma and deadly dust storms in Kansas and Texas. Chenard says another storm is forecast for the Rockies and Plains over the next couple of days.
And that's also going to bring a renewed fire threat to a good part of the central part of the country, and also an axis of heavy snow across portions of the central plains into the upper Midwest.
Chenard says it's not unusual to see weather extremes in March, but the massive storm that began Friday earned an unusual high-risk designation. I'm Julie Walker.
Mideast ceasefire over when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Potential wildfires are a concern for many. With the forecast, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Today will mean another round of dangerously heightened fire conditions over parts of the Southwest and the Plains as strong winds return to very dry areas. As an example, Midland, Texas has only had 0.11 of an inch of rain so far this year, or only 7% of the year-to-date historical average of 1.56 inches, underscoring the dry conditions that are in place that will help to continue to fuel the start and spread of wildfires, as gusts of at least 40 miles per hour are expected from New Mexico and eastern Colorado into Nebraska and much of the northwestern half of Texas today. The fire risk will be worse in places from the Texas Panhandle into far southeastern New Mexico, near those areas where frequent gusts over 60 miles per hour should be the most widespread, but at least a moderate fire risk extends from New Mexico through much of the Texas-Mexico border and northward to almost all of Oklahoma and Kansas through the day today before some improvement tomorrow. In terms of precipitation for today, snow can be expected, rather steady at times, as a late-season storm heads into the northern and central plains. This storm will intensify enough to bring a decent push of cold air into these regions, resulting in accumulating snow of at least an inch from the Colorado Rockies and much of the northern high plains into northern Kansas. To the northeast of there, a more focused band of steady snow is expected to set up just northeast of Omaha into the central upper peninsula of Michigan, one of those places where at least 6 inches of snow can be expected through tonight. Other such places are northern Wyoming and parts of the central Rockies. Snow showers reach back westward into the Intermountain West with rain showers for coastal Washington and Oregon, leaving a rather nice and milder Tuesday for much of the east. In Philadelphia, look for sunshine today with a high of 64. For Portland, Oregon, expect clouds, some sun, and a shower around, the high 52. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. The ceasefire in the Middle East is over after Hamas refused repeated hostage deal offers that came from Israel, the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar. Israel's defense forces struck numerous locations in the Gaza Strip, targeting Hamas terrorists, and vows to intensify their military campaign until the remaining 59 hostages still being held are returned. The terror group is demanding the United Nations intervene. This comes after a 2-month pause where Hamas returned dozens of hostages held for more than a year in return for over 2,000 Palestinians jailed in Israeli prisons. America in the Morning continues. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will talk by phone to discuss the U.S.-brokered ceasefire it offered Ukraine and how both sides can proceed. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the Kremlin is expected to offer proposals of their own.
on Air Force One.
I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday.
And in Moscow, where Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed Putin will take part, but would not give any details about what they'll discuss. The president, though, did.
We'll be talking about land, we'll be talking about power plants.
What he describes as dividing up certain assets. His special envoy met with Putin last week following U.S.-Russia talks in Saudi Arabia about a ceasefire. Ukraine backs it, and Putin has said he supports one in principle, but needs more details. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky accuses Putin of stealing nearly another week of war while dragging out negotiations. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Wall Street back up, and economic uncertainty plagues home builders. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. With the Tuesday edition on America in the Morning, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning day for stocks, the Dow popping more than 400 points. Even after disappointing retail sales numbers for last month.
Unequivocally, it was disappointing, and yet the markets are higher. That's a good sign that maybe animal spirits are coming back to the bullish side of things.
Cerity Partners' Jim Lebenthal on CNBC. Retail sales ticked higher in February, but the market wanted a real solid rebound from January when sales tanked. They did not get that for last month.
Let's start off with the most important piece, which is gas station sales down 1%. Discretionary items like sporting goods and hobbies down 0.4, department stores down 1.7, clothing down 0.6. Those do not speak to being very robust in terms of the consumer.
CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman. Home builders are less optimistic about their business in the new National Association of Home Builders survey. In fact, it's a 7-month low.
The builders cite economic uncertainty, the threat of tariffs, and elevated construction costs. Builders in the survey estimated that the typical cost effect from recent tariffs actions was $9,200 in addition per home.
That's CNBC's Diana Olick. The average rate on a 30-year fixed home loan this morning is 6.8%, according to Mortgage News Daily. Gold hit yet another all-time high yesterday. Its 12th record of the year, closing at $3,006 an ounce.
ETF buyers have now come into the space, and that has been driven by many of these macro factors, the geopolitical risks, the uncertainty around tariffs, what that might mean for inflation and global growth. And all of these factors have come together to really boost gold and hit that 3,000 level.
Standard Charter's Suki Cooper on CNBC. Harvard announced free undergraduate tuition for students of families making under $200,000 a year that begins this fall. Teen fashion retailer Forever 21 filed for bankruptcy, and it's already running going out of business sales at its 350 stores, which are all expected to close. The chain struggled against fast fashion like Temu and Shein. On today's watch list, we get the latest on housing prices. We're going to get new numbers on industrial production. The Fed begins a 2-day meeting on interest rates. It's largely expected to leave them where they are. And 2 items of note in the business of sports today. The NCAA March Madness men's first 4 games are on for Dayton, Ohio. Plus, in Major League Baseball, the World Tour games begin. The Los Angeles Dodgers are playing the Chicago Cubs, and that's in Tokyo.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Giving the Statue of Liberty back to France. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Although it sits proudly in New York Harbor, the White House is responding to a French politician who suggests the United States should return one of its most well-known monuments. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
In a recent address, Raphael Glucksmann said the U.S. should give back the Statue of Liberty. He's a member of the European Parliament and part of a small left-wing party in France. He continued, quote, "It was our gift to you, but apparently you despise her, so she'll be happy here with us." Glucksmann and his party have accused President Trump of using an authoritarian style, the White House responding to the French politician's suggestion.
Absolutely not.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
That, of course, a reference to how American troops liberated France from Nazi Germany's occupation in World War II. I'm Clayton Neville.
Thousands packed a street in Arkansas yesterday for what's considered the shortest St. Patrick's Day parade in the world. Lisa Dwyer reports.
A city in Arkansas has drawn thousands of spectators and celebrities to its St. Patrick's Day parade for more than 2 decades. The resort town of Hot Springs holds its annual world's shortest St. Patrick's Day parade on a parade route that's only 98 feet long. While there are other towns with short parades, Hot Springs has the copyright to that claim, and their parade is actually on St. Patrick's Day. Organizers came up with the idea in 2003 while partaking in some adult beverages. At first, there were only about 1,500 people. Now it's closer to 30,000. This year's participants include actress Valerie Bertinelli and rap icon Flavor Flav. There's also a group of marching Elvis impersonators and the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin later this morning. I'm Clayton Neville.
Iran is again denying that it's helping Houthi rebels in Yemen target international commercial shipping in the Red Sea. I'm Donna Water.
A doctor from Lebanon who arrived at the Boston airport was deported without an explanation. I'm Haya Benjwani.
Hunter Biden's security yanked. A judge orders Fannie Willis to pay. An Air Force member under arrest for murder. And the Kennedy files released.
The Commerce Department bans DeepSeek from government systems. I'm Chuck Palm.
Conan O'Brien will be back to host the Academy Awards next year. I'm Ed Donahue.
Back after these messages. Winter weather is not done before spring arrives this week. This is America in the Morning. Here's today's forecast with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A storm exiting the west and heading toward the central plains will strengthen as it does so. As the storm picks up energy, snow will continue to slide eastward from the Rockies toward the northern plains. And through tonight, a band of rather steady snow is expected to bring accumulations of at least an inch from western Kansas into the northern and western Great Lakes region. Look for a general 1 to 3 inches of snow from western Colorado and much of Wyoming into western South Dakota, just about all of Nebraska, and northeastward from there into the upper peninsula of Michigan. However, higher amounts of at least 6 inches are expected through tonight in places like north central Colorado, the Wyoming-Montana border zone, and a stretch from northern Iowa into the central upper peninsula, leading to widespread tough travel. Snow showers trail behind that main batch of snow from the northern Rockies into northeastern Nevada, with rain and snow at times for Utah and into northern Arizona and New Mexico, with a few showers as well along the Pacific Northwest coast as onshore flow keeps a good bit of moisture in place. Getting back to New Mexico and points north and east, today brings the latest round of strong wind gusts of at least 40 to 50 miles per hour from New Mexico eastward to central Oklahoma and northward into Nebraska, with peak gusts of at least 60 miles per hour most likely from eastern New Mexico toward the Amarillo and Lubbock areas of Texas. This will result in a very high fire risk once again over parts of southeastern New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle, with elevated risk as well from around the Mexican border with New Mexico and Texas northward to southern Nebraska. Otherwise, it's looking like a rather nice day today over much of the east, with sunshine and milder conditions after what was a chilly Monday for some from the mid-Atlantic into the northeast. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, Apple. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. An important day in the White House that could lead to peace, as President Trump will speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone today, as the Trump administration pushes for a ceasefire in Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. Correspondent Clayton Neville previews the meeting.
President Trump told reporters this week that the weekend brought progress in negotiations surrounding a potential ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war.
We're getting down to a very critical stage, and we want to get the whole Russia-Ukraine thing done. And I think Ukraine wants it. I know they want it. Everybody wants it. It's tremendous death. The bloodshed is unbelievable.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accusing President Putin of trying to surround Kyiv's forces in the Kursk region to help Russia in ceasefire negotiations.
It's a big deal. They're surrounded by Russian soldiers, and I believe if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be here any longer. I was able to get them not to do anything at this moment. But it's a bad situation in Russia, and it's a bad situation in Ukraine. What's happening in Ukraine is not good, but we're going to see if we can work a peace agreement, a ceasefire and peace, and I think we'll be able to do it.
In Europe, the EU appears divided on a potential 30-day ceasefire. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce says there are a lot of people who want to see the United States be distracted by the disagreements.
But what I've seen Secretary Rubio accomplish is remarkable. It's his voice that has brought conversations together, that has brought groups of people together. And we know this is why you need a State Department and why you need diplomats, because everybody's going to have different ideas. Everybody's going to think there's a better way, and we all have investments in the nature of the outcome.
President Trump says land and power plants are part of the conversation today around bringing the war to a close. The president reportedly considering recognizing Crimea as Russian as part of a possible deal to end the war. That, of course, the peninsula in the Black Sea that Russia invaded more than 10 years ago. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump is again warning Iran will face dire consequences if the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen continue attacking ships in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, saying Iran's leadership will be held responsible for every shot the Houthis fire. While Iran is denying helping the Houthi rebels, the leadership of the terror group says they will not back down. After the Houthis targeted the American aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman with drones, all intercepted by U.S. fighter jets, the U.S. again struck targets in Yemen for the third straight night. Here's the latest from correspondent Donna Warder.
Iran is again denying that it's helping Houthi rebels in Yemen target international commercial shipping in the Red Sea.
U.S. Central Command forces initiated a series of operations consisting of precision strikes against Iran-backed Houthi targets across Yemen to restore freedom of navigation and reestablish American deterrence.
The U.S. launched a wave of airstrikes against them, and President Donald Trump warned that Tehran would be held fully accountable for its actions. On ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz says the U.S. took out multiple Houthi leaders.
All options are always on the table with the president, but Iran needs to hear him loud and clear. It is completely unacceptable, and it will be stopped. The level of support that they've been providing the Houthis.
The Houthi-run health ministry says the airstrikes killed at least 31 people, including women and children, and wounded more than 100. The Houthis have repeatedly attacked international commercial shipping in the Red Sea and launched missiles and drones at Israel in what the Houthis call acts of solidarity with the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. I'm Donna Warder.
President Trump has ordered that Secret Service protection be taken away from former President Joe Biden's two adult children. Trump posted on Truth Social that he's also yanking the guards for Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and his daughter, Ashley Biden. Former presidents and their spouses receive lifelong Secret Service protection under federal law, but the protection afforded to their immediate families over the age of 16 ends when they leave office, though both Trump and Biden each extended the details for their children for 6 months before leaving office. In January, after taking the oath for the second time, Trump revoked the security details for his former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, a former top aide Brian Hook, and his former National Security Advisor John Bolton. A song from the 1990s that became a signature hit for the alternative rock group Semisonic is circulating on social media with video of alleged illegal immigrants being deported. But the group says they don't want their song used to portray people being shackled and flown back to their countries of origin. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
A rock band is protesting the White House's use of its biggest hit in a video showing a man being deported.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Semisonic's Closing Time hit it big in 1998, and singer Dan Wilson told the AP 3 years later he figured it was a gimme for bars to play at last call, but was stunned it was used at graduations, wakes, and elsewhere.
Just never knew that it would be so all-purpose.
But the band doesn't like this purpose. The White House used the song in a video showing a handcuffed and shackled man being patted down.
It sums up our immigration policy pretty well. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Semisonic says Caroline Levitt and the administration are missing the song's point entirely. It's about joy and possibilities and hope, and the band does not authorize the White House using the song in any way. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Willis ordered to pay, college professor deported, and DeepSeek AI banned. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis has been ordered to pay more than $54,000 for violating the state's open records law in relation to the prosecution of President Donald Trump. A judge cited Willis for intentionally failing to provide records requested by Ashley Merchant, the attorney who filed the motion to disqualify Willis from prosecuting Trump on charges of allegedly interfering with the 2020 presidential election. The judge stated that Willis' office failed to provide documents related to the employment of Nathan Wade, the former special assistant district attorney forced to resign from the Trump case due to his romantic involvement with Willis. It's not known if Willis is planning to appeal. A doctor and college professor in the United States on a U.S. visa was deported to Lebanon following her apprehension by ICE, which came after the Department of Homeland Security said she supported terrorists and attended the funeral of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. More on the story from correspondent Haya Panjwani.
A doctor from Lebanon who arrived at the Boston airport was deported without an explanation. Lawyers for the government said that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers at the airport didn't know about an order for an in-person hearing until after Dr. Rasha Alaweya was deported. Her lawyer, Stephanie Marzouk, said they were not going to give up fighting for Alaweya.
But we're not going to stop fighting to get her back in the U.S. to see her patients where she should be. And we're going to try to make sure the government follows the rule of law.
A kidney transplant specialist, Alaweya was to start work at Brown University as an assistant professor of medicine. She'd held fellowships and residencies at 3 universities in the United States. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Police in South Dakota arrest an Air Force member on murder charges. Authorities report that Quintarius Chappelle, an active-duty airman stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota, faces second-degree murder charges for allegedly killing a 21-year-old woman who had been missing since August. A hiker discovered the remains of the Native American woman and determined she was killed on the airbase. Additional charges against Chappelle are pending. Shifting gears, some anti-Americanism is growing overseas. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports that some European nations are planning to boycott American products, unhappy with potential tariffs levied against their countries.
Consumers across Europe, furious over President Donald Trump's policies, are boycotting U.S. goods. Amongst the most passionate are Danes, who are seeking a way to protest Trump's threat to seize the Danish territory of Greenland. Denmark's largest supermarket chain has created a star-shaped label to mark European-made goods that are sold in their stores. The supermarket chain says the move is not a boycott, but a response to consumers demanding a way to easily avoid American-made products. Many in Denmark, France, and elsewhere in Europe are joining Facebook groups to find solidarity and exchange ideas about how to substitute their once favorite American brands. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
With March Madness and the college basketball tournaments getting underway, a new poll finds that not everyone is happy about legalized wagering on sports. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
As college basketball fans fill out their brackets, a new poll finds a majority of U.S. adults do not approve of legalized betting on college sports in their state. About 6 in 10 think betting on professional sports should be legal, but only 4 in 10 say the same about college teams. A 2018 Supreme Court ruling allowed states to legalize sports betting, and it's now available in 38 states and the District of Columbia. Many leagues have embraced lucrative sponsorship deals with gambling companies like FanDuel, Caesars, and DraftKings. But the survey by the Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs Research finds that despite the barrage of advertising, Americans are no more open to sports betting than they were a few years ago. I'm Jennifer King.
The Chinese-funded DeepSeek AI system has just been banned on all federal computers in many U.S. states. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
The Bureau informed staffers in recent weeks that the Chinese artificial intelligence model, known as DeepSeek, is banned on their government devices and any other government-issued equipment. Congressman Josh Gottheimer and Darren LaHood, members of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, introduced this legislation in February and earlier this month sent letters to U.S. governors urging them to do the same. Lawmakers wrote in a letter on March 3rd saying, by using DeepSeek, users are unknowingly sharing highly sensitive proprietary information with the CCP, such as contracts, documents, and financial records. In the wrong hands, this data is an enormous asset to the CCP, a known foreign adversary. Numerous states have already banned the app from government devices, including Virginia, Texas, and New York, and a coalition of 21 states' attorneys general have urged Congress to pass this legislation. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning continues. Basketball, baseball heating up. Here's sports with Robert Workman.
NBA last night, the Rockets rallied from down 25 to top the 76ers 144-137 in overtime. Houston has won 7 in a row. Pacers tipped the Timberwolves 132-130 in OT. That ends Minnesota's 8-game winning streak. Nuggets rocked the Warriors 114-105. Aaron Gordon had 38 points. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double, while Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray sat the game out with injuries. Kings crowned the Grizzlies despite 44 from Desmond Bane. Knicks turned down the Heat. That's Miami's 8th straight loss. Wins for the Bulls, Lakers, Pistons, Blazers, and Suns. College hoops, the NCAA men's basketball tournament gets underway tonight and tomorrow with first 4 doubleheaders in Dayton. First up, South Alabama takes on St. Francis of Pennsylvania. That winner gets a 16 seed and a date with overall number 1 seed Auburn on Friday. The second game tonight is North Carolina and San Diego State for an 11 seed in the South. Wednesday, it'll be Mount St. Mary's and American University for the 16 seed in the East. That winner faces Duke on Friday. Then Xavier and Texas vie for the 11 seed in the Midwest. The best of the rest are in the NIT. Action begins tonight at campus sites. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey has instructed his Attorney General to investigate the NCAA tournament selection process after the Mountaineers were left out on Selection Sunday. Morrisey called it, quote, a miscarriage of justice and robbery at the highest level. Hockey, the Lightning shut out the Flyers 2-0. 21 saves for Andrei Vasilevsky's 6th clean sheet of the season. And baseball is back. The Tokyo Series between the Dodgers and the Cubs opens the 2025 season today. They'll play one more game tomorrow. Then opening day in North America is next Thursday. That's Tuesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. When we return on America in the Morning, the Kennedy Files released. Back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. President Trump announced he'll release 80,000 pages of unredacted files today concerning the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. In January, Trump signed an executive order directing the release of federal government documents related to the assassinations of Kennedy, former Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. Trump promised during his 2024 campaign to declassify the remaining government documents about the Kennedy assassination, which has remained a point of public interest for decades after Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas in 1963 by Lee Harvey Oswald. Shifting gears, actress Jenna Ortega is dropping hints about Wednesday, Season 2, and also about being reduced to a tiny role in Marvel's Iron Man 3. Kevin Carr reports.
During interviews for the upcoming fantasy film Death of a Unicorn, star Jenna Ortega teased some of her other projects.
What exactly are we saying this is, though?
I think we know exactly what it is.
A horse-like mammalia.
With some sort of protrusion or growth. It's a unicorn.
Death of a Unicorn comes to theaters on March 28th. However, while talking to Steve Weintraub from Collider, Ortega gave a taste of what will be in store for Wednesday Season 2, including embracing its own horror movie legacy.
Visually, I think we have some of the most fun we've ever had. There's a whole episode based off of slashers, and we make a lot of horror references.
The second season of the runaway hit features several big names like Christopher Lloyd, Steve Buscemi, Haley Joel Osment, and Lady Gaga. It drops on Netflix later this year. In a different interview with Entertainment Tonight, Ortega responded to the question of whether she would ever do a Marvel movie.
I did it once. Wait, but it was one of the first jobs I ever did. They took all my lines out. I'm in Iron Man 3 for a quick second.
Ortega played the daughter of the vice president in Iron Man 3, but was largely edited out of the final cut. Her Death of a Unicorn co-star Paul Rudd, who plays Ant-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, stepped in to encourage her.
But Marvel is very good at kind of laying those
seeds,
breadcrumbs, and so it might very well be.
I'm sure she still has plenty to work on. I'm Kevin Carr.
Hollywood's biggest night was a hit, with Conan O'Brien as the host, so they're bringing him back for more. Ed Donahue reports.
The announcement comes very early. O'Brien hosted the Oscars for the first time earlier this month.
It's Hollywood's biggest night that starts at 4 in the afternoon.
The Oscars on ABC drew its biggest audience in 5 years. Disney's Craig Erwich says O'Brien's unique comedic style perfectly captured the moment.
Netflix leads all studios with an impressive 18, count them 18, price increases.
Oscars organizers say the show was also successful in social media metrics, outperforming both the Grammy Awards and the Super Bowl. In a statement, Conan O'Brien said the only reason he's hosting the Oscars next year is that he wants to hear Best Actor Adrian Brody finish his speech. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.